This video is about the top 10 reasons that you don't want to move here to Temecula, California. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hey guys, hey again, my name is Justin Short. I am a realtor and team leader for the Short Real Estate team here in Temecula, California and Murrieta, California. And this video is all about the top 10 reasons that you don't want to actually make a move here to the city of Temecula. So I've lived here for well over 20 years. I mean, I grew up out here. It's where I went to high school. It's where I'm now raising my kids. I think I can give you guys a really good perspective on what it's like to actually live here in the city. And today we're going to talk all about the cons. But the first thing, if you are liking these videos, if you can do me a favor, please hit like, please hit subscribe, so it helps me, it helps the channel. Our goal is to put these videos out for you guys once per week, give you different perspective on what it's like to actually live here in the area. And then we have a lot of people that contact us when they're relocating here to the city or any of the surrounding areas. Definitely would love to hear from you guys. You can feel free. You're going to see all of our information below, and then at the end of the video, you can feel free, call, text, email. We have people that reach out to us all the time, and definitely love to hear from you guys, and love to help you, through your move. But again, we'll go ahead and get into the video. And so again, this video is all about really the negatives about living here in Temecula. So first thing, I'll kind of give the disclosure. So I mentioned I've lived here a long time. It's where I currently live. It's where I plan to live here in the city for foreseeable future. It's where I plan to raise my children. I love living here in Temecula. I love living here in Murrieta, right? So I'll kind of put that disclaimer out there. Sometimes I get in the comments, people think I'm talking negative about the town, and that's not the case. Really, the reason I'm making this video is we want to give you the pros and the cons of what it's like to actually live here in the city. And bottom line, like, no area, no city, no state is going to be perfect for everyone to live in. So although I love living here, I think it's a great area. I think it's a great area for my family to be and where we plan to be. It's not going to be perfect for everyone. So that's why I wanted to create this video, kind of give you guys really what some of the cons are going to be, to make sure it's the right area for you and your family to live in. So we're going to go ahead and get into the list. And so number one on my list here, the top 10 reasons not to make a move here. Number one is it's hot, man. It is a hot area to live in. We're in Southern California, so we don't get a lot of rain. It's warm temperatures. We're more inland, right? So most people think of Southern California, they think of like San Diego, Orange County, right next to the coast, right? That is not the case for Temecula. We're more inland. We're about an hour away from some of those coastal cities. And with that, we have a high temperature. So in the summer, months of August and September, the average temperature is 92 degrees compared to like those coastal cities are like 70 degrees, right? So we're significantly hotter. And then you're gonna have some real heat waves where it's quite a bit hotter than that. So we're gonna have real heat waves in the summer it's going to get up to 101, 102, 103, 104 degrees. And so it's hot, right? Everyone here has central AC. If you didn't, you probably wouldn't survive living here in the summer, right? It'd be pretty miserable. The one thing that I would point out, which is completely different than a lot of areas that are warmer temperatures, right? So like, say if I go out to like Palm Springs out in the desert, right? Or if I go to like, say, Vegas or something like that, what's miserable there is when you move out there, it's 102, 104 during the day, and then come 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, it's still 101, 102, right? The heat is unrelentless, right? It just never, ever cools down. And that is not the case here in Temecula. So because we are in Southern California, we do actually get a really nice breeze from the ocean that comes over the mountains, over the hills, over the plateau later in the day. But although even if we're in a heat wave and we're well over 100, by the time it cools down and it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's actually really, really nice outside. It'll cool down to 70, 72, 73, 68 degrees. So you do get that really nice spread. So it's not like that unrelenting heat that you see in a lot of those true desert cities. Reason number two why you're not going to want to live here is it's expensive. Because we are in Southern California, when we compare prices like to the nationwide average, I think right now, the last stat I saw, the average home in America is selling for like $360,000, as opposed to the city of Temecula, the average home is selling for over $750,000. So I mean, we're basically double the average price point nationwide, and it's an expensive area to live in, right? Now, if you are currently living in California, you're probably gonna have a different perspective, right? Because for 750,000, to live in some of those big cities in San Diego, LA, Orange County, you're really going to live in a shoebox. You're going to live in a small condo. So because of that, we have a lot of people that live in those big coastal cities or counties and then move here to Temecula because it's so much more affordable. So believe it or not, we are actually considered one of the more affordable parts of Southern California, and especially my opinion, the nicest, most affordable part of Southern California for as far as buying a home under $1 million, where you can really get a ton for your money here. And that's not the case for most of the state, really. So. All right, and then so reason number 3 why you would not want to live here is there is just not a ton of jobs here locally. So Temecula and the sister city of Murrieta are really known as more of a bedroom community. So what that means is most people live here and commute out. So they live here and they commute to San Diego, LA, Orange County, right? Most people do not live here and work here locally. So there's not a ton of big businesses, big employers, big industry here in the city. Now the exception to that is like what I'll say is like government employees and medical. So for like teachers or school district employees or firefighters or police officers or sheriffs or any of those type of what I would say government employees, there's a ton of employment. And actually there's a lot of people that live here. I would say a good portion of people that live here that are part of those industries. So those are going to be here local. But I'm talking about like there's not like a lot of aerospace engineers that work here in Temecula, right? Because I don't think there's really any employers like that, or big tech companies or anything like that. So you have all the big government, the government employers, and then you have medical. So there's a ton of hospitals. I think there's 6 or 7 hospitals here within like a 15-mile radius. There's a ton of medical centers. There's a ton of doctors and dentists and all those medical people, and of course the nurses and the office workers that are there in the back end, right? So there are definitely jobs here locally, but I would say, as far as those big employers that a lot of people think of in a big city that maybe employ 10,000, 20,000 people, that's really not going to be the case. So most people do live here and commute out. I will say that since COVID, that has changed some for sure. So since now so many more people can work from home, if you can work remote and you can work from home 5 days a week, or if you only have to commute to the office 1 or 2 days a week, I think that's awesome, and I think that's going to make living here in Temecula a lot more enjoyable for you, right? I think for most people, when they live here and they have to commute out, they would say the worst part about living here is the commute. So it is a little bit more affordable here, yes. You can live in a great school district in a great area and get a lot for your money, but if you have to make the commute, it can weigh on you for sure. So that's something you want to think about as far as where the employment's going to be and where you're actually going to be working, and what that's going to look like on a daily basis for you. So reason number 4 that you may not want to live here, and kind of ties into reason number 3, is there's a ton of traffic here on the freeways. So we're in Southern California. It's your famous Southern California traffic. We have a few freeways here locally. So the 15 freeway and the 215 freeway at rush hour, they definitely get super backed up. And then if you go north, you're eventually you're going to hit the 91 freeway, which kind of run towards LA and through Corona, and that's got a ton of traffic for sure. So I think most people realize that, just kind of thinking and understanding that the Southern California is known for a lot of traffic. But when you live here, it's the real deal, right? And it's something you got to pay attention to. If you are going to live here and commute out, I would get on like Google Maps and look at like what that estimated commute time is. I'd pop an address in to where your employer is going to be, because most people right now, the average commute is about at least a 1-hour commute. So anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour, so 90 minutes. So about an hour to an hour and a half, right? So that's something you want to pay attention to. And even if you look on a map and it looks kind of close, right, distance-wise, that the freeway can really get jammed up. And so just something you really want to think about. And if you're in it every day, it's going to wear on you for sure. The next reason, so reason number 5 that I hear from, I hear this from a lot of clients when they're relocating here. So when they move from out of state or a different area, kind of what they're surprised at is there's just no true seasons here in California. Or well, I'll reword that, is we don't have 4 true seasons throughout the year. So we don't have like a true fall and summer and spring and winter, right? Really, what we have three seasons. We have summer, we have spring, and then we have like cloudy. Cloudy's kind of our winter, right? So we don't get very much rain. In Southern California, I think that's kind of implied, right? But because of that, we don't get snow, right? We don't, as far as fall, like we don't really have like those pretty colors that you think about, like back east, where you have all the oranges and the browns and all the different colors on the trees as they're turning, right? We kind of skip through that. You get a little bit, but it's not near kind of what you would expect if you were living on the East Coast, right? So we just don't have all those true seasons. So well, with that is we don't get a ton of rain. Rains maybe 1 to 2 weeks per year. It feels like it's probably not the right stat, but not very often. And of course, I'm making this video today on a rainy day. The last 30 days we've had a ton of rain, but that's definitely the exception. It's like probably the wettest 30-day period that we've had in like the last, I don't know, 20 years, as far as I can ever remember living here in California. So, but in general, that's the exception, not the rule. We don't get a ton of water. So. Reason number 6 is it's not a very walkable city. So, and this is something that I hear from clients that have relocated here, especially if they're from like a big city, right? If they're from like Bay Area, San Francisco, or if they're from maybe somewhere out in the Pacific Northwest, or if they're from even like Vegas, or just any type of like big metropolis, right? We're the suburbs, right? So most people that live here are going to have a car. You're probably going to have one car per adult, right? So for a household, if you have 2 adults, you're probably going to have 2 cars. Most people do not share cars between the household. Or even as your teenager grows up and they're 16, 17, they're probably gonna need their own car too. So there's not a ton of things to do that are in walking distance, unless you happen to live like across the street from the grocery store or the mall or something like that. That's obviously convenient, but that's definitely gonna be the exception. It's not like there's a huge like public transit system or anything like that. So if you live here, it's not very walkable. You gotta plan to have a car, and just something to know. Reason number 7, and I think this can be kind of a surprise for people, but Southern California, politically is known as like a super liberal state, right? And like a super blue state. And I think that's probably its reputation, right? We have a Democratic governor, right? That's kind of, people are known. I think that's the reputation that the state has. I think that's fair to say, right? Riverside County, which is where Temecula is located, is really one of the very, very few exceptions in the state. So, and especially in Southern California, there's very, very few areas that are like this, but it's definitely more of a conservative area. So it just leans a little bit more red, right? That doesn't mean that people don't live here and have all types of different political viewpoints. That's definitely is the case, and that is for sure. But I would say in general, it's definitely a more red-leaning area for sure, right? And that doesn't have anything to do with my political beliefs, or you shouldn't care about that, right? But it's just in general, it's a little different than what most people think of, right? You kind of think of like your hippy-dippy Southern California, super liberal area, and that's probably not what you're going to experience here, right? Like the local sheriff is definitely on the more conservative side, and he's kind of like a local folk hero over the last couple of years, and has the support of a lot of the people in the town, etc. So just something to think about. Just something to think about and something to know, and that's kind of where I'll leave that. Reason number 8 that you may not want to live here is because we are the suburbs. We are definitely most of the city is a cookie cutter tract town, right? So what that means is we've had a lot of big builders come in. I would say the city has kind of been built from mid-90s, probably 1995. There's some older, but most of the homes kind of started being built in the mid-90s through 2010, 2012 is probably when most of the construction has really finished up, although there are still new construction homes being built today, right? So it's not a hard and fast rule, but that's where most of the area was really built. And with that, there's a lot of big builders that came in, like whether it's KV Homes or I'm not even pronouncing that right, but or Richmond American or Pulte Homes or any of those big nationwide builders. They came in, bought big lots, and they put in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 home master plan communities, right? And I think that's kind of what's nice is there are a lot of newer homes that are upgraded and have a lot of like newer layouts and open concepts, etc., right? And you don't have to worry about a lot of issues that maybe an older home may have, right? If you're in LA and you have a home that's built in 1961, you're going to have certain structural challenges. You're going to have plumbing challenges, electrical challenges, roofing challenges, stuff like that. We don't experience that here because we're just a newer area, right? But with that, some people don't like the fact that when those master builders came in and built out the communities, so a lot of the houses tend to look the same, right? We have a lot of stucco houses, a lot of different shades of brown, a lot of slate tile roofs or Spanish style roofs, right? They can tend to look similar. That's not 100% the case, and there are some communities that maybe have a little bit more character than others, but in general, that's a complaint that I hear from people. They feel like it's a little bit too cookie cutter for them. So just something to think about if you are looking at more of a tract home. Reason number 9 that you may not want to live here is that the city of Temecula is actually pretty strict as far as regulations go. So what I mean by that is the city of Temecula, like if you go to any of the city council meetings or if you go to like any city manager meetings or really hear anything that they have to say, they're super, super proud of the city, and which they should be. I mean, there's been a ton of growth. There's been a ton of, it's now a huge tourist area. So many more people come here to, whether it's to see the wineries or like the Old Town area. We've had a lot of shopping, that kind of boutique shops come in, a lot of cool, trendy restaurants come in, and that was not the case, 15, 20 years ago, right? So the city's super, super proud of all this growth. They're super proud of the highly rated school system. They're super proud of being one of the safest cities in the country, right? There's all these things that they have a lot of pride in. So because of that, they're very resistant to change. And what I mean by that is like they want to keep the city as it is, right? They're proud of it. They're happy with it. They're not looking to renovate and change all these different rules that they have. So because of that, there's some regulations, right? Like Airbnb is a big one over the last couple of years. So the city of Temecula within city limits has banned Airbnbs, right? So you can't own a property if it's in city limits and run an Airbnb out of it, right? Like they will shut you down, and that's considered illegal in the city of Temecula. Now the pro to that, if you live next door, right, you don't have someone coming in on vacation partying once a week, so that's why the city likes to try and do that. Kind of keeps out some of the riffraff. But the city they like that reputation, right? They want to be a clean area. They want to be a safe area, which I like as a resident, right? But if you're looking to buy maybe a potential investment or something, those are things that you should know, right? There's going to be some regulation from the city of Temecula that I've had clients just not be super happy with. So know that they're proud of the city and they want it to stay nice in the way that it is, and they want it to continue to be a thriving area. I guess that's fair to say. All right, and so that brings us to reason number 10 why you might not want to live here in the city of Temecula, and that's really just going to be all about the state of California. So we obviously are located in the state of California, and with that can cause some challenges for some people, right? So one, there's a state income tax that you got to be aware of. It's just over 13% right now. So if you're in a state that doesn't have that, right, that's a fee you're going to have to pay to live here. It's something to really think about. Although some states do also have state income tax. There's also just some rules and regulations that California has, right? They can be a little bit more restricting than what some of the other states may be. So that's just something for you to know, right? It could be a con. It's something that when I talk with people, I have a lot of people that relocate here, right? As I'm talking with them, that's something that I do hear complaints about, and just, hey, I don't want to deal with all those California rules. And that's just part about living here. Like there's really no getting out of it. It's just, you're going to pay, they call it the sunshine tax, right? You're going to pay that 13% income tax, and it's just part about living here. So it's something you got to be okay with, and something that you should really think about and make sure it's going to be the right area for you. So that's my list, man. There's a top 10 reasons that you are not going to want to move here to city of Temecula. Again, for me, I love living here. I think it's a great area. I think if these are all things you can be okay with, that you're probably really, really going to love it. But if you have any questions, you guys can feel free to reach out. Again, if you're liking the videos, hit like, please hit subscribe. Feel free, call, text, email me, and hopefully talk to you guys soon. Thanks.